have an extra. I'll save it as a souvenir. Oh, you got the photo? Okay, great.
1 minute.
George should be here.
1 minute, you get ready? Anything off the consent calendar, Mr. Santos? No. I just,
I was like, what did I do?
no. Did I miss a meeting? All right, you ready?
How are you?
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Council President Robert J. Sylvia,
Present?
Vice President Paul M. Rogers.
Here.
Councilor Terry Flynn. Here. Councilor Henry F. Lombardi Jr.
Here.
Councilor M. Teresa Santos. Here. Councilor Dennis B. Toronto.
Here.
Councilor Barbara A. Von Villis. We have quorum, Mr. President.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the pledge of allegiance to our flag. Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight, we have our first of two public hearings that are open to the public to obtain public input and feedback. I'm going to ask that everybody, and Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask that you use the light if people want to talk, and we're going to hold everybody to 5 minutes. What I'm going to ask for is, as you're up here at the mic, those of you that want to speak, when you see the yellow light up here come on, start to put your thoughts together because you have about another minute and a half before the 5-minute light goes off. So I appreciate that, but we're going to entertain everybody that wants to speak. I'm going to ask Mr. Brown, since he's responsible for the overall budget, just to do a little opening, and then later on, I know that some of the councilors have some questions that they want to ask of specific departments, or Mr. Brown directly, and we'll just go from there. Mr. Brown. Oh, I apologize. Okay, I'm going to read this in. An ordinance of the Town of Middletown, this is the first reading, an ordinance and amendment to the ordinance of the Town of Middletown General Fund, Parks and Recreations Fund, Sewer Fund, Refuse and Recycling Fund, appropriating revenues for the fiscal year July 1, 2019 to June 30th, 2020.
Okay, motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, we have motion and second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, Honorable Town Council, I'd like to thank you for opening the hearing tonight to receive the budget on its first hearing. As we've done in the past, the budget has been prepared in the form of an ordinance as required by the town charter, and you do have a copy of that for this evening. I will quickly review it. I just quickly want to point out that we do have the department heads here tonight, and just want to read off their names and also thank them for the work they've done in preparing the budget this year. We have Arlene Call from the Senior Center, Barbara Fenlon, our accounting manager, Cassandra Bennett, our human resources manager, Elaine Colarusso, the deputy finance director, George Durgan, the tax assessor, Jack Kane, the building inspector, Karen Clancy, the deputy town clerk, Lori Verderosa from the Middletown Prevention Coalition, Mark Tangway, the finance director, Matt Wainwright, our IT director, Chief Peter Ferber's here tonight from the fire department, Ron Wolanski, our planner, Teresa Koch from the library, Tom O'Loughlin, the DPW director, Warren Hall, the town engineer, Wendy Marshall, town clerk, Will Cronin, who handles the refuse and recycling program, as well as a number of special projects related to properties, our new police chief, William Kewer, and just two people I'd like to just point out that may not be here, but were instrumental in pulling the police budget together. Lieutenant Mike Faria, who was our acting police chief during the transition, and Lieutenant Jay Ryan. Our school department, Superintendent Rosemary Krager, the Assistant Superintendent Liz DeSavastano, and Business Manager Cindy Brown. So I would just like to point out that most of those people are here tonight, here to answer the questions you may have. And I'd also like to thank them for the work that they did in contributing towards the budget. presentation is very similar to the one that we did in the, when the budget was received by the council in April. So quickly running through it. In the general fund, we have total expenditures recommended for the year of $75,608,504. Overall, that's an increase of $2.8 million over the prior year. And just to give a summary, what that represents is a decrease from the municipal departments totaling $61,973. There's an increase related to the tax incremental financing program that's been proposed of $418,313, and an increase in expenditures for the school department of $2,431,350. And just to sort of break that number out at a summary level, $1.4 million of that is roughly for capital items related to school construction projects. Approximately $500,000 of that is related to salary and benefits, and $400,000 of that is related to changes in the cost of transportation from year to year. So that's roughly the general fund. When we look at the budget, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So with that, what that generates for a budget standpoint, from a tax standpoint, is an increase of 3.13%. The residential tax rate would increase roughly from $13.75 to $14.18, or 43 cents. Commercial tax rate, the change would be from $18.20 to $18.78, a 3.19 cent increase, or 58 cents. For the median property owner, that's a person with a home valued at $356,300, that increase would be approximately $161 for the year. And for the median commercial property owner, which has a value of $743,250, that would be an increase of $552. Overall, the increase in the levy that's proposed in order to balance the budget is $1,478,741. And the way that would break out is there would be no additional dollars allocated to the municipal departments. There would be an allocation to the tax incremental financing program, which would total $418,313. And for the school department, it would be an increase of $1,060,428 in the appropriation made to the department. That's a quick summary of the general fund. The Parks and Recreation Fund, priorities in this fund include continuing to implement the recommendations from the Town Council and Subcommittee that began implementing last year. Total expenditures would be $3,829,600. It's actually a decrease in expenditures from the prior year of $1,856,581. And that's mostly related to a decrease in non-recurring or capital projects. We had $3.1 million worth of projects that were budgeted last year that don't recur from year to year. That's offset by an increase in an allocation for the renovation of the parking lot, which has a cost of $1.3 million. And lastly, a capital project to construct some ramps at the boat ramp, some floats, to assist people who use the ramp that have a cost of approximately $100,000. There is a recommendation to increase the daily parking fees by $5, and those fees in the budget get broken up where basically $1.50 would go towards supporting the cost of operations, and $3.50 would go towards the capital replenishment program. On the sewer fund, total expenditures in the budget proposed are $6,951,000, $7 million essentially. And overall, we've tried to contain the cost. We're in the process of doing a rate study that we've talked to the council about. We are looking at not only the rates that we anticipate needing to charge, but also the structure of those rates. So the staff has tried its best to hold the rate at a constant. The rate itself is actually decreasing 19 cents from $15.88 to $15.69. The I&I charge, and this is an increase, is going to increase $30.27 from $3.98 in the prior year. So it'll be cost of per connection of $34.25. And then the billing charge related to the meter reads is increasing 28 cents from $36.03 to $36.31. Overall, what that means is for a single-family home or a well user, their sewer maintenance fee would go from $681 to $687, a $6 increase. The big change that sewer maintenance people will see is in the I&I charge. Again, that would go from $398 to $34.25, and the customer service charge from $36.03 to $36.31. So what happens is the total bill that someone would see would go from $721 to $757.68, which is roughly 5%. Again, the operating costs we've maintained, but what we have, or what's accounted for in that increase, is the increase in the I&I charge. We are budgeting to complete what we call the Sub-Area 7 project. It's the last of the project that's part of the consent agreement the town has with the National Environmental Law Center related to overflows at the Wave Avenue Pump Station. That's a $900,000 project, and we anticipate that will be approved in this budget, and we'll be able to complete that and close out that agreement that we have outstanding. Refuse and recycling, total expenditures, $1,036,906. That's an increase of $5,267 over the prior year. There are no changes in the fees. Overall, from an expense side, we are pretty stable. The town council recently extended the contract with Republic Waste, so our costs there are basically stable for a few more years, and we're also able to continue with stable subscribers level within the town. So just from a step standpoint, we have the public hearing tonight. That will be the first required. The second public hearing is May 29th. And at that time, the public hearings will be closed. The council will make whatever amendments they desire to the ordinance, and we would adopt the budget itself. Maybe just as a closing kind of statement, there was a considerable amount of planning that went into this year's budget. A lot of time was spent with the staff and the different departments, reviewing what the town's priorities are and whether or not those priorities actually add value. We spent a considerable amount of time looking at how much or what quantity of services we need to provide to the community. Just because we can provide a lot of service in a certain area doesn't mean that the community really wants it. Those are things that we've continued to review. And then lastly, looking to see whether the services we're providing are efficient or not. This is the third year that we've tried to come in with no increase, at least on the municipal side, and it's taken a lot of work internally to achieve that. So I think we're doing pretty well in overall continuing to provide the services that the town wants. And I think that's roughly it. I think we talked a little bit during the Saturday about looking strategically at priorities for the town over the upcoming year, strategic planning, facilities planning, as well as trying to address the challenges we have in generating revenue. So those are priorities in the upcoming year. And as we've reviewed, each one of the departments has priorities within the services they provide themselves. So with that, unless the council has any immediate questions, I will.
No, Mr. Brown, I want to thank you. I want to thank the department heads on the town side, certainly, for their commitment to seeing that we provide a quality service at an affordable price. And we owe that to our taxpayers, and you've certainly done that on the town side. And ladies and gentlemen, just understand that this proposed budget tonight is a proposed budget that we will vote on next week, a week from today. So with that, I have, while you're at the mic, I'm going to give you my question. I have one question of you, Mr. Brown. In regards to the TIF, for Lower Quinnick Avenue. How will that affect the tax rate?
Sure. So the TIF has a cost of $418,313, and that's a cost that would continue on annually for approximately the next 20 years, I believe. Is it 20 or 30? 30. It's a 30-year cost. Overall, that would have a 12-cent impact on the tax rate, which is roughly 0.89%.
I thank you for that. I just wanted to know where we are with that TIF, how it will affect the overall tax rate throughout the rest of the town, as
Okay.
well as that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does any councilors have any questions? Yes.
I do, Sean. Thank you. I have a question about the $5 increase for the dailies parking. You said that $3.50 is going to capital and $1.50 is going to support beach operations.
Yes.
Right? So my question is, I would have thought that with the reductions that we made in staff last year, any increase in operations, that would have paid for this.
I think
I
there's,
mean, we reduced from 105 to 75 employees, that's 30 people.
well, again, the issue when, and this goes back to a number of conversations we've had, the issue isn't the number of FTEs. That certainly is one part of it, but you have to look at the number of hours that you're actually paying for. So while you had more employees, they worked less hours. They had sort of, and I think that was an issue the committee talked about, was that you had people there for 2 days or 3 days, and the committee wanted fewer employees that were committed to 40-hour work weeks.
Okay.
And that's what we pursued. So both last year and this year in preparing the budget, the finance department has spent quite a bit of time, and we can provide those details after the meeting, during the next week or at the next meeting, that talk about where people are staffed, when they're staffed, and how we come to that total number of hours. And it does, we've achieved reducing the number of FTEs. It's just that the employees that we hired are committed to the beach on a 40-hour basis now, as opposed to, I'm only going to work 2 days a week, I'm going to work for 3 days a week. And I think that's had a positive impact on the level of service that we're providing at the beach.
Okay.
We have committed employees, whereas before it was sort of in and out all the time.
Okay.
And we had an increase in the security controls down there, too.
So
I forgot about that.
We had the
Which was
Well, we've had minimum
Highest
increases in
social cost.
minimum wage has been a challenge. Minimum wage continues to go up. And then the state made a considerable increase in the cost of lifeguards. We did a survey last year on lifeguards. They increased the cost significantly this year. As we polled all of the communities, everybody's matching the state rate to get because lifeguards are difficult to get. So,
Okay.
so that's another bump that we had.
But there was an increase in police down there as well, right? Police presence.
That's another
Which was
piece.
an
We have,
additional cost to that.
there's, the council rightfully has taken a position to aggressively enforce the no drinking at the beach, to make it our community's beach, not something that's out of control. So, and we talked about that on the Saturday. It took a little bit of tweaking, but we have a program where the police department is supervising, the officers that are there. There's an officer in charge, and we're making certain that we don't have the drunkenness down there. Partly related to we had an older crowd at the Atlantic Beach Club. Once that closed down, they went back to Second Beach. This is was a problem that existed before the Atlantic Beach Club, but and even we've had that problem yesterday where we have kids coming down from Massachusetts, and we've got to break up parties on the beach, and residents don't appreciate it. So
Any other
Yeah, I
questions?
got some more questions. So just a few more questions, but just to follow up with some beach stuff, I just want to make sure that, yes, we did recommend more police presence to help stop the alcohol on the beach. Just want to make sure they're actually on the beach. Actually, police officers walking the beach, not out in the parking lot, walking the beach. That was the whole intent behind it.
mhm.
So back to the $5, Sean. So 3 or 4 years ago, we increased $5 daily on the weekends just for capital, and that was a really good move because we have roughly $1 million in capital to, so we can repave the parking lot, we can, look at the future of that building and stuff like that. So that was a really good move. So really, we don't have $350 going towards capital, we have $850 going towards capital.
Correct. So,
Okay.
and so we have the $1.2 million in parking, that's an estimate right now. The town engineer and public works director are looking at 2 other ways of paving. So the 1.2 is based on a peel and pave program, basically peel up what's there, fix whatever base needs to be replaced, replace it with asphalt. They're also looking at a chip sealing program, which is similar to what the city of Newport did on their east lot, which would be not considerably less, but it would have there would be a cost reduction. And then the third thing they're looking at, Tom's looking at, is a cold in place program where basically the parking lot is ground. Tom's here if I'm wrong. They keep the material on the location, they mix it with whatever they need to mix to make asphalt, and then they reapply, so you don't have material leaving and material coming back to the site. The thought process is if we can identify one of those processes, we might be able to reduce the cost to a $900,000 level.
Okay.
But that program is being paid for with we're generating a little bit over $330,000 a year for the capital replenishment fund. So with the $3.50, we're looking at that, being towards the $500,000 mark and being able to, in the near future, being able to address the building, whether we decide to add to the building, replace the building, or whatever
Yeah, I mean,
the wisdom of the council is. But the bottom line is that's been a long conversation,
Yeah.
and now that's on the horizon. So.
Yeah, and that wouldn't even require a bond, I wouldn't believe, or maybe it would, but we'd already have the money in place to pay the debt service.
It doesn't seem like people want to borrow money. They want
I
to.
agree.
So that's what we're shooting for. And I think in even the longer term, having that stream, we obviously are all conscious of the rise of seawater, the seas themselves, and dune restoration and those important, projects to maintain the beach. So
Yeah.
the money will be used wisely, I'm certain.
So, Sean, on the sewer fund, I just can't get off of the I&I charge from Newport. I think we've spent millions of dollars in the last 15 years to reduce our I&I, but our charge goes up. We've reduced millions of gallons that go down there on a daily basis, on a yearly basis, and our I&I goes up. Now, I'm glad we did that because we have a sound infrastructure, number one, and for the future. Number two, I can't get off of why to me it's a money grab, and I don't like it, from Newport.
So it's based on our flows. So, and those flows are measured by our own meters. So, the ability to just do a grab of money, when you look at how the expense is constructed, Newport really doesn't have the ability to just grab extra money through that billing line item. Tom is working to look through the data that we have in the SCADA. When you think of I&I, it's actually from a prior year. So what we're paying now is from 2 years ago, whatever rainfall we had in that period. And it was up about 10% for that 1 year. But we are looking at the data in the SCADA system to try to figure out, what actually spiked that caused the increase in flows during that period. As we discussed in the Saturday workshop, and we're somewhat familiar with this because we're working on talking to Newport about the contract itself, our flows have decreased significantly, and it's not a large anomaly, but it is an anomaly in the sense that where we've had I&I charges, like I said, it's only been $4 or $5. So having a $35 charge is, it's unusual and it is concerning. So I don't disagree.
It just seems like something's not right to go up that much. You're going from $3 to $35, $3.58 to $35. It just, is our data wrong?
I don't believe so. And it's not, you know, it's not a huge change in flows. I think what I'd suggest is I bring back the data that Tom and I are looking at. We can share that in detail with the council at the next meeting.
Well, that was my next question, was the flow from year to year. What's that number to justify that increase? Okay, one last question, please. Refuse and recycling fund. So we just approved that extended that contract recently. My question is that originally in 2007 to 2008, when we implemented the pay-as-you-throw program, you know, there was a lot of research that went in. There was a company, I believe, from Vermont that came down and gave us all the numbers and the projections on the number of users that had to sign up and make this program self-sufficient. How far away are we from that number? So, and the reason I ask that is because do we have a plan, or what do we have a plan to increase the participation? So, you know, originally it was no user fee, the $141. Yes, went up, and then it came down from 156 to 141 the last few years. My vision was to have that fee continually go down if possible. I think that's probably everybody's vision up here. So, do we have a plan to increase participation, or are we just happy with what we have and charging 141?
So over the years, we've run different programs to sign people up for the program. The number gradually increases. It's not material, but it's roughly in that 4,200 to 4,300 users. I don't believe we've had a year where we've lost users. But I think there's a number of things in the community. I think we've grabbed the majority of people that we're going to grab. But as we've been talking about rentals, short-term rentals, while we may have in excess of 6,000 residential units, we don't necessarily have, some of those units are dark for most of the year, so they're rented, so it's more of a scenario where people are still using subscriber services rather than telling tenants or visitors to use the yellow bags. It's certainly something that we can continue to pursue in the upcoming year, revisit some of the programs we've run in the past, but I don't know how much market share we can grab at this point. It seems to be we've grabbed most of the residents that will participate, but we can undertake a promotion program here leading up to the sign-ups in October for the upcoming season.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is because we're almost in 2020, right? It's 2020 budget. So the projection in 2040 is we're going to be down to 12,000 people, whether that happens or not. So as our population decreases, we need to have a plan in place now, I think. Because 20 years, you blink, right?
Well, and I think the bigger...
And so I just want to make sure that, because as population goes down, I only see this user fee going up. Contracts aren't going to get cheaper, I guess.
No, and I think in that 20-year horizon, the other reality is the Johnston landfill is going to close. That's the other reality, and the state's either going to build an incinerator or a series of incinerators, or we're going to be putting garbage in train cars and shipping it to New York or somewhere. So I think we're sort of at a lull in the garbage business. We're already getting, news that we're not getting money on recyclables like the way we have, and we're reading about that, and the Chinese companies aren't buying recyclables anymore and things like that. So,
Sean, what about commercial? Maybe we should take a look at commercial recycling.
I don't know that it helps, because we're not getting any money for the recycling. There's no return on it. So.
Right.
We can certainly look at it, but I think all we're going to end up with is the cost of shipping now. We're not getting that return. When we look at our program, we hit our targets, our responsibilities as a municipality dealing with residential trash. We have a over 50% diversion rate, over a 40% recycling rate. You know, I think if there was gonna be a change in the commercial, it sort of needs to be a statewide effort, since the Department of Environmental Management oversees really the program for that particular waste stream. So, again, I think we're in a lull of what the issues are. I think in the next 5 years, that will become a significant issue for the town. And it's not gonna be so much, I think you're gonna see the cost start to escalate quickly, the cost of capping the landfill, the cost of what we're gonna do with future trash, and again, whether they're going to ship it out somewhere or build a plant to burn it, to convert it to electricity or whatever they're gonna do.
Okay, I have one other question, but it's for the schools.
Okay.
Does anybody else, before Mr. Brown sits down, does any council have a question for Mr. Brown? Can you wait for the schools?
Oh, yeah, whatever, thank you.
Councilor Santos, go right ahead. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown,
Mrs. Santos.
there are many well users in the town of Middletown who are connected to the sewer. What is their what are you charging on the gallonage for them?
They would be charged 43,790 gallons.
So if it's a one person who is living in the house who has a well, and that they're gonna be charged 43,790 gallons for water.
Under the current system, yes. And that's one of the things that we'll be looking at with the rate study.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Mr. Brown? Okay, thank you. Okay, councilors, any other questions you want?
I just have one for the schools. When Sean was breaking down the general fund, he said that the school transportation fee this year was going, at least this is the way I interpreted it, the school transportation fee was going up $400,000. Is that accurate?
Could you, whoever's gonna answer for the school, can you come to the mic, please? That's what I saw.
So we're going to check the number, but up 400,000. Let me explain what's included in that transportation. Certainly, it's the increase of the contract. It's the increase of monitors. We have a combination of monitors that are hired by the school department and some that are through Ocean State, our bus contractor. And also, there's been an increase because of the ESSA, the regulations around transporting students who are not necessarily homeless, but who would be in DCYF custody that now are in foster homes. So we have to share that. Every district is experiencing this increase because now we have to share the costs. So if a student was in Middletown and the student was placed in DCYF custody in a foster home, and that foster home happens to be in Pawtucket, and DCYF determines that the best placement for that child is in Pawtucket, Middletown Public Schools and the Pawtucket schools share that travel cost. So every district across the state is experiencing this increase in transportation. Again, it's a result of the new requirements under ESSA.
How much of that increase is contractual?
How much is the
Of the $400,000 is contractual obligation?
I need to kind of look at that data and just check with my.
And that's fine, if you don't have the answer now, you can.
I mean, we'll get it. It just takes a minute to take a look at it.
No problem.
Yep. Do you have any other questions?
I do not.
I have one,
Yes.
speaking along the same lines, because I did see that $400,000 in your budget that you submitted. I'd like to know, is that a quantified and verified number, or is we making educated guess at that number.
No, that's based on what we have seen this year, the increase in this year, and the trend.
And the trend.
And the trend. We're working with our legislators. Again, as I say, every district is impacted by this, and we're trying to get some relief, whatever way we can, with regard to this, this transportation dilemma.
I know Council Lombardi has a question for you.
Actually, my question is for the school chair.
Okay?
I do have a question, Mr. President.
Okay.
While she's there.
Okay, Madam Superintendent, Councilor Toronto has a question
Just
for you.
one more question along the same lines. How many children are we talking about in the state and in Middletown?
Again, let me just take a look at my book, and I'll get those to you. Okay.
I don't see, I got a note from the chair today that
She's
she's here.
She's here.
I'm sorry, Kelly.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi.
Thank you for being here tonight. I have a couple of questions, and then I have some observations, and then maybe you can respond to them after I get them out. So my first question is, it's been related to us on a number of occasions, including the last time that you were here before us, that the central administration and the building administration have not received pay increases. Is that correct?
So,
Yes or no?
yes, that's correct. That is what we said at the last meeting. We with you guys, we reviewed some data at our last meeting that looked at the last 6 years, and we were incorrect in our statement at the last meeting
It's been
with
a
you.
consistent statement.
I have,
I'm asking
I'm
the
s-
school committee chair.
I have the exact numbers for you, if you
I
like.
have numbers. I got them all right here.
Because
These are the numbers you gave us. I'm gonna go over them.
I
So give
just-
me a minute.
So I just,
I got them, here. You
So
gave these.
administration, okay, I just calculated it out, so I just wanted the
I think
exact
the
amount.
council directed it towards the chair,
I'm-
but if the chair needs you to help her out with the answer, then she can
I
lean
have some,
on you.
I have
but-
some observations, and you can respond when I'm done. With all due respect, because you brought that up a number of times. So I'm
It's
gonna
in your
be,
mission statement.
just be respectful, and I'm not done. The other question is, the pay raises and performance bonuses, which I'm gonna address in a minute. I was told that you do those in executive session. Performance
the bonus,
bonuses
the
and
performance
one-time
reviews are done in
stipends.
executive session,
And
yes.
when you're done doing that in executive session, do you report them out and vote on them in public?
I believe the vote is taken in public, yes.
Is it or isn't it?
I believe all votes, the votes has to be taken in public session.
Okay.
But I'd like to verify that for you.
All
We
right.
can go
If
back
you-
and look at the
If you
minutes.
would, that would be
Yep.
great. I
Yep.
appreciate it. You can get back to us maybe at the next meeting. So, as I looked at the data that superintendent so, very helpfully supplied to us, reams of paper at the end of the day when it was all said and done, I'm gonna go over some data, and then I'll ask you to respond when I'm finished. So, as I look at the school superintendent, and I'm gonna give you two instances here with the school superintendent and the assistant superintendent as central administration. And then I'm gonna go down and I'm gonna go over some building administration for you. I'm not gonna single out individuals, I don't think that's fair, but I'm just gonna go over categories of what their position is. So, the superintendent, between 2013 through 2018, received performance bonuses in 2014 of $10,800, $6,000 in 15, $8,000 in 16, $6,500 in 17. And the assistant superintendent received a one-time stipend of $8,000 in 16, and performance bonuses in 14 of $9,000. The year after, in 15, $6,000. And then they skipped a year, and he gave her a $6,000 bonus in 17. Now, I look at the base salary because if you looked at the bottom line, there are variables there. There are things that change from year to year. So one thing that doesn't change is both of those individuals have $2,500 travel allowance bonuses for every year. But vacation time, for instance, buybacks, You know, I don't know if that's as a result of a cap, but I mean, like, I'm looking at figures of $11,636, $5,925, $5,991, $5,991, $5,991, $2,996, and $6,111 in vacation time buybacks. But when I look at the superintendent's salary across the years from 2013 to 2018, she's had a $3,127 salary increase out of those 3 years. The assistant superintendent, going across the board from $129,997 in 13 to $134,374 was a $2,517 increase. Oh, is it more than that? Across the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Goes from this to this.
4,377.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, see, my figures were wrong, that's why I don't become an accountant. So then when you look at the building, the building administration, this is where I kind of get a little concerned here. So we have, for assistant principal in one school, we had a $1,500 performance bonus. In 2017, the base salary for this individual was $96,250. It went up to $98,175. That was a salary increase, and it was reflected in a performance bonus. The difference between the $96,250 and the $98,175 is exactly the number of the performance bonus of $1,925. The performance bonus is included in her base salary. If you go down to the next one, another assistant principal, same thing, $9,500 as a base salary, $97,410 increase, and she got a performance bonus of $1,910, which is the exact same amount as her salary increase. If you go down to another principal, the elementary school, $101,661 base salary in 17, $103,694 in 18. That's a $2,033 increase in her salary, the exact same amount of her performance bonus. Another principal, middle school, $104,910 base salary in 17. Her salary went up to $107,100 in 18. Performance bonus of $2,100, the exact same thing happened there. That was the increase in her salary. You go down to to another principal, the high school, $109,000 base salary in 17, increased to $111,600 in 18, and a performance bonus of $2,188, exactly the dollar of the increase in her salary. This is an example of, you know, I understand performance bonuses and I understand how hard they work, but the bottom line is, and these performance bonuses, by the way, are just littered through these things. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but I'm sure it makes up that number that the president mentioned the other day, or pretty close to it. And I'll say it again, just like I said that the last time you were in front of us. When we're talking about fighting for every single dollar that we can get for the schools, when we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars in increases for administration, and now we're talking about cutting programs, and we're talking about, you're asking us for 4%, and I'm sorry, but, and you know, when you look at performance bonuses, one-time stipends are fine. For exceptional performance or doing something over and above what they do, I get it. But to have it reflected in their base salary, I have a real problem with that. Because that compounds year after year after year after year. It compounds. So that's where I have an issue. You know, and it just, I'm sorry, but, you know, maybe I had a wrong figure or two here somewhere along the line, but the data's here, it's public data. You know, if anybody wants to see it, I'm happy to share it with them myself. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, when you look at these, and as I go through, it's not just, it's people who work in other positions. I mean, we're up here talking about trying to save money. We're trying to, you know, hold the line. And you come and you ask us for 4%, and you say in the newspaper you really need more than 4%. But, you know, maybe you ought to be thinking about taking some of that money that you're doling out in performance bonuses and one-time stipends and kicking that over to the operational side is what you ought to be doing, in my opinion. Thank you, Mr. President.
I have a quick question for you. In line with what Councilor Lombardi just brought out, contractually, are our school teachers, do they have an option to cash in their vacation time?
From a year-to-year basis or at the end?
Year to year.
Year to year, I don't believe so. They receive two or three personal days per year that they can take, and then many more sick days, and the sick days they can bank and pay out at the end.
Okay.
But
At the end, when they retire,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is it okay for the central administration to, and I'm looking at your numbers, to cash in vacation time every year, like Councilor Lombardi just alluded to? I mean, I'm looking at some serious numbers, and this all adds up. I mean, the superintendent, year 13, cashed in over $11,000 worth of vacation time that year. In 14, almost 6,000. 15, 6,000. 15, 16, 6,000. 17, almost 3,000. And in 18, 6,000. Why is it okay, and I don't understand the sense of fairness of this, why is it okay for that to happen there and not happen, and why do we do that? And I know, and I'm pretty sure contractually, I would assume, that there's a cap on how much vacation time they can cash in when they leave a school teacher. I'm pretty sure there is a cap to that.
that's their sick time. It's not vacation time, but the sick time, I believe it's capped. I'd have to get you that number, but
That goes credit
it's
towards there, and a portion
100
of
something
that
days.
will be credited towards their retirement, because that's kind of a standard, retirement plan. But just ask a couple other things here too. Explain to me the travel allowance. $2,500 every year travel allowance. Do they pay for their own transportation when they go away to schools, or does the school pay for that transportation?
That's a reimbursement for travel expenses that they incur out of their own pocket based on traveling for their jobs.
Okay, so it looks like they get reimbursed that amount every year. That's what it looks like to me. It seems
We
pretty
can pull that
consistent
data
across
if you'd
the
like.
board. And I'm just gonna pick out just a couple years. I mean, when we asked, and I know we were kind of adamant, you know, and I know it got a little heated and testy, that when we asked the question, were there any salary increases over this 6-year period? Now, when we talk of 6 years, we're not going back 20 years or 25 years, but out of the 6 years that we asked you, that you adamantly told us there were not any increases. 2 of the years you did give increases,
Right.
salary increases too. So, you know, when we take that dig my heels in hard position, you know, I mean, when you see these numbers, I mean, you say to yourself, do they not know? But are they being untruthful? Which I don't believe you.
You mean-
So there
Intentionally
was-
do that. I don't believe you intentionally. I said, the question is, do you not know? You know, I mean, because these speak for themselves. We have, for an example, and I'm not picking on the superintendent, but she happens to be the one that pops right out right now. In 2014, with her bonus into her base salary, it equated to a 6.5% compensation increase on her base salary with that compensation, the performance bonus. And another thing, when I talk about performance bonuses, I'm not really sure how you pay your bonuses, but there are laws that govern bonuses, and bonuses are taxed differently. And I don't know, so I don't know if you're taxing it differently, if it is being done that way, but they should be done if they're not done that way. Bonuses are taxable differently than just your regular salary.
Understood.
But when I look at this, and I say to myself, and like Councilman Boddy said, he said, you know, when you add all these numbers up, you know, just the bonuses alone over that period of time, and I know some people say, well, it was 29 people that got bonuses. Okay, 29 people. But it was also almost $250,000, just bonuses. Forget the buybacks on vacation. Forget travel allowance payouts. Forget all these other things. And the stipend, when you award a stipend, a one-time stipend, are there categories? How do you determine the stipend amount? How do you just say, and I see a couple of them in here for 1 year, 2 stipends in the same year, 2016, $8,000 to one employee, $8,000 to the deputy superintendent, and I see other stipends down the road. Assistant principal got a $1,900 stipend, and I'm more. How do you determine who gets a stipend and how much is paid of the stipend? I mean, I can see performance is supposed to be for performing above and beyond, I would hope, okay? But a stipend, could you explain that to me, the stipend, how you pay that?
So we discussed that in executive session. As I said, it's based on individual's performance. The year that was the highest.
The stipend is on a performance based?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So the year, I think one of the years you're referencing where it's the highest, those individuals did a significant amount of extra work gathering data based on the technology situation that we had 3 or 4 years ago.
Then why would you say a one-time stipend and not put it in as a bonus, performance bonus, like you did with the other ones, the year prior and the year after?
Because it's not always guaranteed or necessarily for the
I'm
following
sorry,
year.
I may not be understanding your question then.
Okay.
So
You gave an $8,000, I want to, when Stavastano's here, you gave her an $8,000 stipend in the year 2016. You did not give her a performance bonus that year. 2 years prior, you gave her $9,000, you gave her $6,000, then you gave her a stipend of $8,000, and then the following year, you gave her a performance bonus of $6,000. How, I don't understand why you said stipend when you just told me it's for outstanding performance when you've already been handing out performance bonuses. Why wouldn't it be a performance bonus instead of a one-time
it should be.
stipend?
I'll have to go look at the exact data that you're referencing. I don't have it in front of me right now, and so I can't explain
Okay,
the difference
and I'm not trying to
between
put you
the
on the spot, but I'm just saying.
I just don't have it in front of me. I didn't know that.
If you look at financial reporting, okay, there's certain criteria of how you do things.
Correct.
And when you look at this, to me, and I've said this before, sometimes it's like a blizzard of numbers. It's like a blizzard of numbers. And we draw a bottom line and we hand in a total, this is what we want, this is what we need, but it's, when you dig down and you look at things like that, it's mind-boggling. And the money that goes out every year is mind-boggling. You know, that could be, in my opinion, maybe used someplace else. But
So if
you
there
could
are
look into the
discrepancies that we
stipend
can,
form,
yeah.
I'd really like to know how you, this year, decided that you'd give stipends instead of performance benefits.
Which particular year is that you're?
You know?
Which year are you referencing? So I know.
2016.
2016. Okay.
Now, there's other people that year that got bonuses. The same year, 2016, got bonuses, but this particular, the assistant superintendent, didn't get a bonus. The only year she didn't get one in the last year, but that year she got a stipend. I mean, how do we go, and you just said it was for going above and beyond and well,
The
why a
performance-
stipend?
the
Why a one-time
The
stipend?
performance bonus is for going above and beyond. The assistant superintendent does receive a stipend for serving as the technology director as well, because we do not have a
But-
director of
But
technology.
we
So
only
I'm
paid
not,
that 1 year.
I'm sorry?
We only paid that 1 year. The
I
stipend is
don't
only
have it
for-
in front of me. I apologize. I have to look at it.
No, that's okay. I mean, I'm looking at it. It was only, the stipend was only paid that 1 year.
Okay.
And it was only paid that 1 year to several other people. Like, I'm looking at the assistant principal at the middle school. That same year was paid a stipend. Wasn't given a performance benefit. I just don't understand
So
how you would go performance, stipend, then back to performances again. You know?
Okay, so I don't have the answer to that right now. I'd be
Okay,
happy to get
that's
it for
fine.
you, but by
No,
the
that's okay.
next time.
I just,
The other The other piece, if I could just mention, there's a lot of things that were said, and one thing's that's jumping out to me, that first year that you're looking at, you may see 2 years' worth of bonuses in 1 year. I'd have to go ask
They're not
the
noted
finance
as
staff.
that.
I'm sorry?
They're noted as that year bonus paid.
I understand, but I'm saying it could have been the delayed payout from the prior year. So we'd have to go back in 1 additional year and see if the bonus was paid in the prior
But you
year.
will agree tonight, you will acknowledge tonight that there were salary increases.
Absolutely, and
passed
I
out.
do want to apologize for that.
Sure.
I did publicly at our school committee meeting last Thursday.
So I don't know, I don't know, I don't even watch these council meetings.
I understand, no, I want to make that public. I did apologize at that meeting, and I do apologize to each of you today here, that there were 2 years that our central office staff and our clerical support staff did receive raises in that 6-year span. There was 1 year that all of the principals did, and I believe a few of the principals received an additional raise but not all of them.
All right. Any other
So I do
questions? Okay.
Can I,
Councilor Serrano?
can I just respond for just a moment,
Sure,
please? 'Cause
go right ahead.
just because it's on the same topic, so I don't want to come back
Okay,
to it, if that's
fine.
okay. So, in regards to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, and the raise, apologize, we did make a mistake, but I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. You brought up the salaries of the two of them. So the superintendent, over a course of 6 years, her increase totaled $5,438. Divide that by 6 years, she got a total of $906 a year average for a raise. So that's a total
That-
of,
That's creative accounting.
That's,
can I please finish, please?
Okay.
So that everybody can hear what I have to say as well. I appreciate that. So that was a total of, and you were talking, and the assistant superintendent received a total over 6 years of $4,377. That's an average of $729. So yes, we made a mistake about that, but their total raises in 6 years totaled less than $10,000 for their raises in 6 years to their base pay. In regards to the principals that you mentioned, and I know you didn't say any names, but you identified schools, and
Well, what
so,
am I supposed to do? I mean, I gotta say something.
well, I know, but you identified schools, so that's fine.
I wanna make
So
sure.
an average of
well,
what
it's
you,
public information, so.
so
let's
absolutely,
just-
so what you were talking about in those stipends, those stipends it was a 2%, a total of a 2% increase in that time period. So their stipend was on their base salary, that's what it's called. It's called a stipend. Because it's not guaranteed or necessarily sustainable. So when someone receives a bonus, that money may not be available the following year. So over the course, and also in regards to the central office administrator, the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, they have not in all these years received any dollars for longevity or tenure or degrees, which that is in the teacher's contract. So that's where the one-time bonuses come in, performance bonuses come in, because it's based on what dollars are available. And so it's important to define that, because the way that it is being presented from the council makes it look like the administrative staff are making huge amounts of money. And if you look at a $5,438 increase over 6 years for that position on the base salary, that's not a lot of money for a position. And the other
Teresa,
thing,
please,
can
you
I-
do me a favor? Don't insult us, because I find it insulting when you tell me that bonuses don't end up in your compensation.
I didn't say that at all.
You know,
I
you're
said-
making it sound like, oh, they didn't get nothing for 6 years and they got 2 little bonuses.
No, I'm
They
just-
got paid.
Excuse me,
more-
it's my turn, Mr.
No, I'm
President.
gonna just say, don't insult us. Please give us
As
facts.
we work towards our goals, we will treat all members of our community, town government, volunteers with respect and dignity. We sat
You
here,
want me to put a clock on you too for 15 minutes?
Bob, we sat here for half an hour listening, and I think that due respect, I am an elected official just like you, and I
You are.
deserve the respect
But you know
to
something?
be
You
heard.
wanna remember that when you're giving us facts. Give us accurate facts, not your spin on the facts, because these numbers
Excuse me.
speak volumes.
Please don't insult me or bully me,
I'm
because
not
that's
bullying you. I'm
disrespect.
just telling you, don't
I think you
insult us.
should live to your mission. I'm not
favorite word, bullying,
insulting
your
you,
favorite
Bob.
word.
I am trying
ahead,
to
Teresa,
put
finish
facts.
up. We'll
And you
listen to you.
interrupt me 5,000 times. It's very difficult. I didn't interrupt you and Rick. I stopped when you asked me to. I deserve that same
Go
respect,
ahead.
so that everybody can hear in the public the facts from this perspective. because we have different perspectives. So in regards to the bonuses, the way it works is the school district puts aside approximately $43,000 a year for potential bonuses. If the money is not available, it doesn't get dispersed. So when you make the number of $250,000 over 6 years, and you divide that number up, it comes out to, lost my piece of paper. What? And it's divided by a numerous number of people over a 6-year period. I had that number, I lost it. 40,000. I'm sorry?
40,000?
No, I'm talking over 6 years is 41,666. And even if you divided that, that's what we're admitting, that we put that money aside on a line item, and that's allotted for bonus performances. Since they weren't getting increases, and if you look at the $906 a year is not a substantial salary increase. So there's the difference of when teachers were getting increases, administration was not. And the second thing I want to mention too that's really important is the vacation, what you're talking about, the vacation. Teachers don't get vacation time. There's the difference. Teachers get school vacations, and they get 3 personal days and sick time. Administrators work all year, all summer. So you can't compare their contracts with a union contract. So when you're saying that about the buyback of vacation time, if they're not taking their vacation time, they're working all of those hours instead. So they're not taking the vacation time. And if people are going to work and sacrificing their vacation time, are they supposed to work for free? I don't think anybody will go to work for free. So I think it's an insult and demeaning to our administrators who work way beyond their hours in a day and a week, and if they're buying back some of their vacation time because they're not taking it, then they're working instead. So if they're working, then they should be compensated in a 52-week year. But I really think it's important for the public to understand that the picture that is being painted, and anybody can have public knowledge to this, and they're welcome to come into the school department and have it dissected and explained in the appropriate fashion. Because when it's presented like this, you criticize, you insult, and you make it appear that they're overpaid. And again, if you look around the district, we talk about comparing communities, when it comes to the sewer fund and the dollars and things like that. You look at our superintendent and our administrative staff of where their salaries are, and you look at the neighboring salaries, and they're paid much higher. So we don't pay out longevity. We don't pay out for degrees and credentials. Those are the kinds of things that used to be done. So when you look at those stipends, that's making up the difference of that. And when people work as hard as these folks do, they do deserve bonuses. And I know that the municipality may not have gone up, but I know that bonuses are given to the municipality employees, and raises have happened across the board on the municipality side. So I'm not sure what the town council expects. Is the school department never supposed to receive a raise? That's not reasonable for them to be able to do top-notch work and not be compensated. Nobody, not one person would go to work and not expect some kind of pay or increase at some point in their career. You can't be stagnant when you're a professional and you hold numerous credentials and have a tremendous amount of expertise. And I also wanted to mention, when you talked about the operating budget, Sean, and the increases that would potentially happen with taxes, for residents, it'd be 43 cents per day, and for businesses, 58 cents per day for taxes to increase to support education. And I think that education needs to be a priority, and to ask our residents to be able to support and produce well-rounded, educated young folks to be able to run this community in the future is not an unreasonable request when the town has not raised taxes in a long time. And our budget is not fluff and stuff. Our budget, we do due diligence. We spend hours and hours. We, as a school committee member, numerous meetings. Before budget season even started, we were already crunching numbers in the fall. So we do due diligence, and we do deserve the respect and the common courtesy without humiliating, bashing, and all the things like that. You know, we didn't write numbers off a cocktail napkin. We didn't do that, Mr. President, which is what you said the other day.
It
And
appears that you did. The first
That's-
time you reported this to us.
that is
you said-
insulting. We acknowledge the fact that we made a mistake. We accept full responsibility. Kelly apologized publicly the other day and tonight, and so did I.
I'm not looking for an apology. All I'm looking is for facts. That's all we want.
We made a mistake. We are human, and we made an error, and we acknowledge it. We are now rectifying that tonight and gave you the exact information that you requested. So I don't feel it's appropriate to continue harping on that and insulting us that we made a mistake. And no, we didn't write our numbers on a cocktail napkin.
You said that already.
I know, but I think that's an insult, and it's very demeaning, and it's bullying in a sense, and we weren't here on Monday because we were told not that it wasn't necessary to be here. Otherwise,
I was asked by the town administrator, who an inquiry was made by the superintendent, did we have to be there Monday night? There wasn't any questions that really asked Monday night, because we'd already sat down with you on the Saturday. We went through your budget that Saturday.
right, but
So
I
if
watched
you-
the video,
And I was
and
also told that you had another obligation that night.
the special education awards, that was that night.
Okay,
So-
so, we didn't say, no, don't come. You could have come, but we understood it to be an obligation. I said, nah, it's not really necessary for them to be here. We already received theirs on the Saturday that we worked, so.
But while we were not here, and I think it's difficult for the comments that were made at the meeting for us not to be able to respond. One more thing that I wanted to mention, when Sean was talking about the bonuses and things for the municipality side, he said that the gross pay was done in executive session, and it's paid, bonuses are paid separately and they're not included in the base salary, and they're 3.75% or lower. So when I calculated out our administration and their bonuses, they never went over a 2%. So I'm just sharing with you, when you look at this kind of thing, that we did a 2% and the town is saying 3.75 or lower. So we were right within the same range of numbers that the municipality is using.
That's not true. I don't know
Yes.
what math
Yep.
you're using, Teresa, but if you do simple math, if somebody makes $100,000, right? And you give them a 2% increase, that's $2,000, right?
Yeah, I know
So
my
if somebody
simple
makes
math.
$200,000 and you give them a 2% increase, how much is that?
That's on the base salary.
But look at we're talking about the bonuses and everything included. That's what he
Can
was
I just
talking
make a
about. So
suggestion?
you can make it look any way you want to fight back the facts, and that's fine on your end. So, but what I will say is this, but I'll wait my turn because,
Could I offer a suggestion around the bonuses? Would it be possible for our town council president, our school committee chair, myself, or just our finance person, since the bonuses involve me, maybe I shouldn't be in that discussion, and the Sean on the town side sit, we'll go over things very clearly so there's transparency, because in the data that I sent you, and there was a lot of data, because we were thoughtful about that. We didn't want to hide anything. We wanted to explain everything. And we used the words performance bonus, stipend, bonus. We used them interchangeably over the years. So I think if we could sit down, as I said, our town council president, our school committee chair, finance on both sides, sit, work through those numbers and see exactly, because there was a lot of misstatements just now about the bonuses and so forth. And I think we're spinning, and we're spinning. And let's get the facts out so that 4 of you are very clear about it, and we can come back to the general population here and put the facts out. So that's my suggestion, so we can move forward.
Suggestion taken.
Thank you.
Councilor Lombardi, you want to say something?
So-
Oh, wait a minute, I have Councilor Toronto first.
Go ahead.
Councilor Toronto
Dennis.
first.
Okay, thank you. What we hear out in the public from the people, why are we throwing more money at education when the grades are going down? That's the number one question I get. And I wish we were talking as much about what we're gonna do to increase the educational stats of our children. In business, we might actually tie your performance to your salaries to the performance of the kids, right? In business, if we're losing money, which we're losing money from the state, right? We can't go and just tell our customers, you have to pay more, right? We've got to control our expenses. We got to watch where we spend our money. And right now, we're not in a good spot with the state in regards to getting money. So when I look and say, we're getting cut by the state every year, and you guys are more concerned about passing out bonuses to make sure everyone's getting a certain amount per year so they're getting an increase so they can keep up with their neighbor in regards to what they're making, that just doesn't work for me.
So we're absolutely not more concerned with that than we are with student achievement. That's our number one priority,
But-
absolutely.
And that's fine, but people ask me, why are we
That's
going
fair.
to keep throwing money at it? And that is your responsibility to work with the community, to educate them on why the grades are so good, but they're not on the scorecard. I don't know. So I just want to put that out there. And for overtime, do you guys punch in and punch out? Do the admin people come in and say, hey, I'm here at 8, and I'm going to be leaving at 8, so that I can then say I worked all this extra time and I deserve a bonus or a stipend? I mean, how do you know how much they're really working and they're not?
Drive by Oliphant School, the lights are on at 9 o'clock at night.
Okay, but there's no, I
There's
was
no- I
just
don't
asking,
believe
you
there's
don't
any.
have,
I don't believe there's any punch out. That's not common for
well,
salaried
just,
individuals.
just as we're overtime, buybacks, I mean, there's a liability to all that time that you guys are offering in regards to time that they are buying back. I think we decided how much money is out there, obligation that we owe to the teachers for the money that they can collect each year. How much money is out there? How many hours?
I don't have that figure off the top of
I
my
think I
head.
heard it was like $2 million. That's a liability.
I'm not understanding.
$2 million for,
If you totaled up, if you went to all the teachers and everybody and said, how much sick time do you have, or how much time do you, vacation time do you have, and how much you're not using, or how much do we owe you, what's that number?
so the collective amount that we would owe all teachers if they
You have a
retired
liability.
today.
You have a liability for that. In business,
balance sheet, though.
we used to be able to carry over our dollars.
So is that on our, do we carry that in our audit?
We do, and Mark can get that number. Collectively across the town, it's roughly $2 million. So it's not just a school number.
That's a pretty big liability.
Across the town, it's 2
Yeah.
million, yeah.
Yeah,
But
that's a
we
pretty
can,
big liability.
we can break that out for the
But
next
that would
meeting.
be if everybody retired at the same time and collected all their money.
No, but in business, they stopped doing it in business because you're supposed to carry a liability for that. You owe the money, so you got to show the money.
And
So I don't know if you guys do that or not.
I think-
I'm just saying
I
in
think Sean
business.
says
So
we do.
we used to say at the end of the year, you can only carry over 5 days. That's it.
Well, the audit.
But I know
numbers
you have a
show-
contract and all that, so.
Yeah, it shows in the audit, right? That's what you said, it's in the audit.
Mark will present that at the next meeting.
You know, when you were up here talking about, during the last meeting, you're telling us that no one got raises. We're up here trying to figure out a budget, and I know when I get a raise. I know every time I get a raise. I remember when I got a raise last year, if I got a raise the year before that, and every year before that. So to not know you gave out raises and to go back and find that out, that just tells me you don't know your information in that area. And I just find it hard to believe that.
I don't
You know.
memorize, I've been doing this for 17 years, so I apologize.
I know you've been
but
doing it for 17 years.
Right.
That's
So
why
I
I would
made a
think you would
mistake.
know it inside and out.
Dennis, I made a mistake and I acknowledge it. For you to insult me.
I'm
and
not,
say I don't-
Teresa,
and
I'm
I don't
saying,
know my
no,
information.
Teresa, I'm not insulting
I
you, so
made
don't
a
put.
mistake, and you're still harping on the same topic.
I think that there was a number of people who were making the statement when we were here. It wasn't just you. During that meeting, it wasn't just you who were saying no one got salary increases.
Okay, we already
And people
rectified
were
that.
saying that they, that's okay, I get my
Yes,
2 minutes to
yes,
express
we
my,
don't.
do I get a chance?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So, I just personally, I say, wow, I know, you know, I manage people, I understand when I give out bonuses. If someone said to me, did you give out salary increases last year? I would say, yeah, I did. Did I do it the year before? Yeah, I did.
This is not my full-time job.
And if bonuses were then added to the salary was a question, and that was no, which we found out is. So what else aren't we asking that you might not have known, but you told us something instead? What?
That's really unfair.
You might not know.
Yeah.
We don't know what you don't know, okay? So
That was a
we're-
verbal
we're-
statement.
We are up here
These are
going through
facts.
these budgets and trying to represent the people in the community. And so I'm just saying, these are things that you kind of scratch your head and people ask us about. It's not just me. People have asked us about this. They read it in the paper and they say, really? Really? That? And you say, and then, well, no, it's not. Now we're finding out, no, they were wrong. That's fine. Everyone makes mistakes. These are people asking me questions, Teresa. So you can take it up with the community. And then, again, when you say, you know, top-notch work, I agree. I think our people do a really good job, but our scores are not reflecting it. And that's what a lot of people are asking us. Why do we want to throw more money when our grades are not improving? And now, I know you said the last time that the state had 3 different measurements over the years, so I get that. That's not easy. But again, that goes back to you to resolve with the community. You might want to explain to the community why the grades are going down.
Fair.
Okay.
We do usually discuss that each year when those results do come out, and we spent a considerable amount of time on it this past year when the most recent assessment changed, because the state made it very clear that all districts would expect to see scores going down, and the issue is not that kids got less smart, it was that the bar has been raised, and that's just telling us we need to work harder and bring the kids up even higher. We know that, we acknowledge it.
I asked last couple of years if you folks track where the children go after they leave Middletown High School. Okay? They graduate, they go on. Do you track how many people maybe go into the military, how many people go to college, how many people, and then follow to see if they did go to college, did they get a 4-year degree? Do you guys track that?
I'd have to ask our high school principal, because I think that would be where that data would be kept. They have the last contact with the student when they leave, their most recent contact information. I don't
Here, if we ask her.
I don't think across the board we do that, but we do have some
Well, I
information
would
on
think
some of
that'd
our
be a good
students.
indication of the
Understand.
success of what we're doing, because the reality is what we're trying to do is educate them to be good people, come out, get into the community, further your education, make a place to live, you know, and we
No,
don't,
I
I
understand
just think
that.
that would
I
be a
do.
good measurement mark.
I
think
do.
that'd be
It just
good.
it also takes staff to do that, and at this point, at every level, we've been reducing staff for the last 9 years as a result of funding formula reductions. So we're getting to a point where we don't have additional staff to do things that are that aren't directly related to educating our students.
And we
Okay.
also have so many military transient population that it's hard to, they move all over the world.
I think with Facebook and all this, it's getting pretty easy. The other thing in regards to the capital improvement, I mean, we got a bond of $6 million, and I think you're asking for an additional $800,000 and more CIP projects. My question is, we've got all these other projects, and it seems like they're working on those. How are we going to get these other projects done when we have all these other projects that are going on? I mean, are those all, the CIP that you're requesting, are those all scheduled to be done this year, or are they going to get approved this year and probably not done for a couple years?
So anything that's in this year's budget is money that we would expect to expend this year, based on, some of it might be design planning work for a future project. The projects that we plan to execute this year, though, that's what's in the CIP. It's not all being done necessarily by our staff. It's being done by
The same
contractors.
with the bond, right? I mean,
I'm sorry?
the bond's the same, it's being done by other people, right? With help with,
Yeah.
you know, from us and stuff. So it's kind of the same. So I'm just saying, we've got this
Yeah.
whole project list for the bond, and now we're gonna add another bunch of projects.
Well,
And
our
so
buildings-
I don't know how do you manage that? And so I know sometimes we approve things from a CIP standpoint, and there's no plan to actually implement it for a year or two. So I'm just curious.
No, I don't think that's ever the intention. I think occasionally over the course of the year, things happen that cause projects to get delayed. It's
Okay.
never the intention to request funds in a year and not spend them until future years.
Are there any things on the CIP that you don't really think you need this year, or that could wait a year to do?
So I'm not prepared to answer that this minute, but we can certainly get you back a prioritized list if that's what you're asking for.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councilor Santos.
I have a couple of questions, very simple. If you don't have the answers to these questions, next meeting, if you'll have them. Now, Teresa, you said no longevity. No one gets paid longevity, is that correct?
That's correct.
But on this, it is listed
As-
longevity.
The most recent contract, that's correct. Prior years, of 13 to 17, it was not.
All right, okay.
13 to
No.
18?
No,
Sorry, can I clarify? In all new administrator contracts, we have not included that. I think there were,
starting with the year 2013, somebody was paid longevity all the way through 2018.
right.
Okay?
So what I meant was all new contracts, any new administrators, that's not part of their
Okay.
building administrators, but,
Some
and-
that were grandfathered.
right, so those that already had it and we had to remove it from their contract. So I believe at this point, there's probably 2 individuals left.
All right, what explanation can you give me where it says prior year wages paid in the new year? What happened there? There are a number of those.
I'll have to ask the business office for clarification on
Okay,
that for you.
You'll get back to me
Sure,
on that?
absolutely.
Okay. There are a couple of those. Now, how does one get out of rank pay?
So I believe, I'll give you what I believe that to be, and we can get confirmation on that. So if somebody's working if someone's working in a different position than their typical class, maybe a higher classification position, so administrative assistant performing a different role for a period of time, that's a higher classification, they would receive the differential pay for that. But we can clarify that for you.
Okay, and my last question would be, if I could find it. There are a number of those prior year wages paid in the new year. Now, going back to the bonuses and this one-time payment, are they all subject to federal, state, FICA, any deductions?
To my knowledge, yes, but we will
All right.
confirm that.
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, Councilor Lombardi?
So, and I'm smiling because after 5 years of sitting up here, she said, the general public went in and looked at some of this data. It took me 5 years to figure some of it out. I'm just saying, it's really hard to figure out the budget, particularly the school budget in a lot of ways. And so to that point, it's like, holy moly, sometimes it's like looking for a needle in a haystack.
It's following the UCOA, the state resident.
Yeah, no, I get it, I understand, but it's really difficult when you're new at it is one thing, and then after 5 years, I'm just starting to pick some of this stuff out of there, and one of the reasons why I have more information in front of me is because I think we finally asked the right questions, and we had you give us the data, like, I've never seen it come out like this before, and we've asked some of the same questions in the past. So I gotta say, I'm happy that you did it, I really am. I mean, I sat around at night and kind of played with
New
it.
technology programs too
Great.
that help us to
I get it.
be able to decipher
So,
and break it down.
To go to what you were talking about earlier, when you were talking about the pay increases and the percentages over time, you're right, but when I brought my points up about the salaries, I was looking at the top line, which is the base salary, but holy moly, if I wanted to take and really kind of take a baseball bat out, and I'm going to bring it up, where you have the base salary, you have performance, you have excess life insurance over 50K, you have travel allowance, you have vacation. So you've got 2013, 169.14 total compensation package. Next year, 174,503 total compensation package. 172.80 Now they go up and down. They don't stay the same every year. And I said that. To be fair, I wasn't going to look at that. But now when you look at, if you want to go past the base salary and you want to look at all that total compensation, it's significant. And even though it does go up and down a little bit, and that's why, in fairness, I wanted to look at the base salary and the increase in the base salary. And of course, I had to throw in the performance bonus because it was included in some cases in their base salary.
That was just a few, I acknowledge it, but it was very few cases. It was only for a few employees in one particular year.
At least four.
Right,
At
in
least
1 year.
four. At least four. But what I'm saying is, you know, look, you're being run through the ringer, and I get it. And some of it is very well-founded, in my opinion. But that said, I tried to be fair and look at the base salary. I didn't go down the bottom and look at those total compensation packages. Because if I really wanted to sensationalize it, I could have done that. And I had to do it just now, just to be clear, that, you know, there's, you know, excess life over 50K, travel allowance, performance bonus, one-time state stipend, vacation, another one, curriculum, national board certifications. I mean, there's a lot of compensation in here that none of us are talking about right now. And we could be. You know, I mean, it's dollars, it's real dollars that's going in somebody's pocket. Okay, and I know, and listen, I said this at the last meeting, and I'll say it again tonight. I know how hard the administrators work. I understand it, and I get it. But at the end of the day, it's like Councilor Toronto said, we hear it from the public when it's in the newspaper. We hear it from the public when they, you know, we talk about their tax dollars, and people are struggling to make ends meet. We talked about, you know, tax breaks for senior citizens and homestead, and the you know, the tax plan that the other councilors have brought up. There's a reason why we're doing that. It's not because it's nice to, as Councilor Radrick likes to say sometimes, it's not because it's nice to have. For these people, it's necessary. They need every dollar. Our seniors and our young people. And I really mean that sincerely from the bottom of my heart. So at the end of the day, when you talk about a tax increase and when you talk about tax, you know, tax breaks and homestead acts and all that good stuff, we're trying to make Middletown a livable community. I mean, I had a person come to me the other day. She's worked for the town. She's, you know, she works hard. She does a lot of good stuff. And her son went and bought a house in North Kingston because he couldn't afford to live here. That's where they're going. It's not affordable. And we got to draw the line someplace. So that's I'm done.
Vice President.
Well, I'm really upset by this. I'm truly upset by this. I think the last meeting was pretty evident that some of the things I said, I'm mad, I'm angry about these dollars. I know you work hard, but you can call it a mistake. There's 5 school committee members, there's how many people in administration, you all nodded your heads. When he asked, and you got very upset with me when I asked, your words were exactly, what do I have to say it 7 times? You don't believe us? Well, guess what? I don't. It's not a mistake. You flat out lied to us.
No, I did not flat out lie to you.
There's
Paul.
7 of you or 8 of you, and everyone nodded their heads.
Paul, I didn't memorize the
Okay, well, you can,
contracts.
this is my feelings and this is my opinion.
Okay, well, you don't need to insult me.
I'm not insulting you, because you seem to get insulted very easily.
No, I don't, but the public has come to me too and saw, the, you know, read the newspaper and the bullying.
Well, it's true. It's no bullying. These are facts, Teresa, and they're provided by you. It's not a mistake. It's a lie. So that's my opinion. And so I look at things like you actually have no accountability of dollars. Come more, 4%. We could use more than 4%. It's every year after year. You know what it is, in my opinion, and you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I really don't care. It's greed at this point. When I look at some of the buybacks and I look at the bonuses, and you can call it a stipend, you can masquerade it any way you try and masquerade it. And those are your decisions, and you have to live by them. Doesn't mean we have to agree with them. You have no accountability of dollars to the taxpayer, none. You can approve their increases, you can do what you want with the money because there's certain state laws that say we can't do anything with it by line, right? All we can approve is your bottom line. A few years ago, when I think it was 2012, when the Charter Committee wanted to make the council, have the council approve the contracts because they didn't like what was going on back then. And I didn't agree with it then. I did not agree with that. When I see something like this, you know what my thoughts are now? Let the council approve the administration raises now. Let's take it right out of your hands. Because obviously with the track record, things aren't good because, like Dennis said, you know, you didn't plan for 10 years of state funding formula loss, right? I know you can't generate revenue. I get that part of it. You still have to have a plan. But now I look at this, and everyone up here looks at it, you certainly plan for the stipends and bonuses.
0.11% of the budget. 0.11%.
You're missing the point, Teresa. It's principle. So, to me, that's just how I feel. It's like you don't look at the taxpayer dollars the same way we do. Because there's no accountability. Really, there isn't.
It's not a true statement at all.
Well, that's the way I feel. Whether it's true or not, that's my perception. And my perception, excuse me, my perception is my reality. I'm sorry. And I think yours would be too. As a matter of fact, I'm going to make a recommendation that the council either puts together a charter committee or we do it on our own. And we send it before the people that we now approve your, let me finish. Let me finish. I understand that. I understand that. I understand that. But I'm just saying that I don't like the way things are going because it's a disaster. It's a financial disaster, whether you want to hear it or you don't. And I look at town, it's just not sustainable. And I look at towns like Portsmouth, right? And everyone wants to be compared to Portsmouth. Portsmouth has budgets like $5 or $6 million less. They have more students. They have more teachers. I understand some of the contractual obligations are going to be different. I don't know how to quantify that number. I just look at it, and the average person on the street would look at it and go, what's going on here? So maybe we should talk to them and see what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, trust me. What I do have is facts.
There's three things that are important with that. I just want to answer that question.
Use the
Three
mic,
things.
Teresa, please.
We have a transient
Teresa,
population.
use the mic, please.
We have a transient population. We have more ELL students for English language learners, and we have more special education students than Portsmouth. So I can
Because
give
they
you,
pulled out of special, they were smart, they pulled out. It was costing, they saved over $1 million a year pulling out of special education.
we have
Something
more,
maybe we should look at.
we have more students, more children that we're supporting.
Okay. So, look, we all have to work together, we all have to live together in this political world here, right? And we all think we're doing the best thing for the town, right? And these conversations aren't easy, and like I said, I'm upset. And if I offend you, I apologize. But I'm just going off my feelings based upon what I see. And I've been doing this long enough that I think I know what I'm doing.
So do I.
And I think I know what's right and best for the town, and how tax dollars are spent wisely.
And I'm an educator, and I feel that I know what I'm doing, and I am a very competent person, and education is what I do for a living, and I have been doing for over 25 years.
And
So
we're gonna
I
continue to
also
see it differently.
know what I'm doing,
Okay.
and don't deserve insult and criticism, because we do due diligence to our dollars and cents.
I'm not insulting you intentionally, Teresa, I'm just based on what the facts are.
But our buildings are also used, when Dennis was talking about buildings, our buildings are used for the public. The town uses our buildings for all kinds of things. So when you talk about capital improvement, and you talk about those dollars that the town's now going to help support some of that, realize that our buildings aren't just used to educate our students. They're used for all kinds of activities.
Okay.
throughout the
I
community.
wasn't.
Dennis, I just want to finish.
Let me just respond.
I just
The
wanna let you know
CIP, I wasn't saying we shouldn't do that. My curiosity is why add more projects when we're still trying to get $6 million worth of projects done? That was it. I'm like, why are we adding another 800,000 on top of the 6 million that we just, that you guys are still trying to get everything done?
Right, but I think
That's
other
all.
things come up.
That's all. I
and
was just
prices
wondering if
were-
there's something we could put off for another year or two, since, because we may not get to it.
I understand.
That's all I asked.
Vice President.
I'm just gonna end by saying this. I was at BJ's on Sunday, and I was loading up my truck back to the bed with groceries that I purchased. And this guy was walking towards me, you know, when you see somebody coming out of the corner of your eye. And I thought he was gonna go by me, and he said, excuse me, are you the vice president of the town council, Mr. Rodriguez? I said, that all depends what you have to say to me. So he said, I want to tell you something. I watch every single town council meeting. And this guy's probably mid to late 30s. Every single one, I don't miss one. He was adamant about getting that point across to me. He said, I really like the way you and Mr. Sylvia and the council are handling this school thing. He said, I don't believe them. I said, I'm not sure I do, but we're waiting for facts, and we'll find these facts. I'll get these facts this Thursday. He said, if that school, if they didn't tell you the truth, they should be removed. This is the type of things people are removed for. That's what's out there, just so you know.
And
I
when
didn't create
was at
it.
BJ's, I bumped into somebody and they came up to me and said, why is the council treating the school department like that with such disrespect when we're equal? We're all elected officials in this community. Judge, you get the
Yes, we
authority
are.
for the bottom line. You are not supposed to be dissecting our budget to every fine line. That's not your responsibility nor your obligation. Your responsibility is to look. I'm not suggesting what you're doing is wrong. I'm simply saying that you take things and dissect it to a point that is inappropriate for the way you handle it. And so people have come up to me and said that as well. So we are
And that's fine.
responsible for line items.
And like I
you're
said, we're
responsible
gonna
for
see
bottom
it
line.
differently, Teresa, but in my opinion right now, my vote to give you anything is 0.
I understand
Based
that.
on the fact that you're not putting money, I look at it and say they're not putting money where they should be putting money. And
So
that's
we're never
just,
supposed to
that's just my
compensate
opinion.
Administration, they're supposed to have flat salaries all the way.
I didn't say that.
We're talking $900 a year.
You can spin it however creatively you want to, accounting wise.
I'm not
I'm all
spinning
set.
it.
Thank you.
Council Von Billis.
Yeah, I'm going to share a personal story too, because I had a similar experience. I was in Custom House Coffee the other day, and a young man came up to me who ended up being, as he identified himself, as a student that I had had in school. And he said to me, I just want to let you know that you guys, I've been watching the streaming, and you guys are doing the right thing in regard to the school department. So I think that's out there, okay? But that's not why I wanted to speak, okay? I'm making an observation, and I'm making an observation based on experience. I've worked in 5 districts as an administrator in 3 states. I have never seen finances the way that they have been reported here, particularly in regard to salaries and all of these additional kinds of bonuses, if you will. I have never seen that in 5 districts as an administrator. So either you are doing something that is a standard that people should replicate, or you're doing something wrong. And quite frankly, I think it's the latter.
Council Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a few comments. I took some notes and I just want to get them out, and I have a couple of questions. So I think along with Councilor Toronto, I don't think anybody likes the scores that have been the result of what's going on in the school department. But I'm going to tell you, after going to the very many school committee meetings, that I think the people who really don't like those scores the most are the people who are working in that system. I think it's very frustrating for them, and everybody wants to do better for our kids. So let's get some common ground right there. I think that everybody who works over on the school side, I do think they earn every penny. I think it's not an easy task in this world, which is changing. It's like walking on gravel. It's changing all the time, from the state level on down to the parent level. But we have a budget to massage, and it's not going to be easy with the requests that you have made. So it's our obligation to dig down a little further. You know, as Councilor Roderick said, it's not sustainable. There's no question about that. This town can't do that, can't support it. So we have to find a way, you know, whether it's, you know, the groups have to work together and the citizens have to help us out too, whatever ideas from other communities they might come from. So I have a couple of questions. The sick days and the vacation days, you're obligated by contract. If somebody wants to take cash in lieu of, they can do that. Is that true or not?
I believe so, yes.
Not much you can do about that then, is there? You do have to show it, you know, that you're liable for it, but you have to allow them to do that. The bonuses or stipends for exceptional service or the tracking of hours, I think that's probably a resultant type of thing. You don't track someone's hours, but if they have accomplished something extraordinary with their class or at their school, they qualify for that bonus or that stipend. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's result-based.
Performance, yep.
Performance-based, exactly. So I did want to, as much as I hate to, touch on the bonuses. So, Ms. Spangler, you said that $43,000 a year is set aside for bonuses.
For 29 to 32 people, depending on the year, yes.
43,000. So, a number came up that 29 people were receiving $250,000 in bonuses. Was that over
6 years.
That's
over
the
6
6-year
years.
number.
Correct, so that's
Okay.
why you divide that up, it's $41,666 each year.
Okay.
So that $250,000 was over a course of 6 years.
And I said before, I support that concept as a way to manage your budget and keep your talent, but I am a little disturbed to hear that there are some occasions that the bonus also went into the salary base. So in any situation that happened, I think that, you know, I know they can't pay it back, you can't take it away because it's in the salary base, but I think that there should be a footnote that those people have already double dipped, if indeed that is what happened, you know.
They didn't get an increase and a bonus.
I thought that the bonus was put into their base.
So that happened for 4 individuals in one particular year. And to be honest, the bonus, it could have been the case just that the bonus and the raise percentage were similar, were the same percentage. So we had the funding available at the end of the year and we said, let's look at the individuals and,
Yeah, that's a,
I'm sorry?
To the penny?
yeah, it wasn't a percentage, it was a dollar.
It was 2%.
To the
Okay,
penny.
let's not.
Right,
Exactly.
but I believe it was 2%.
Council Flynn has the floor. Let's try to keep some order.
Well, no, I was confirming with Councilor Lombardi. So, I guess all I'm saying is that that's something that should be caught and looked at, because now they've got a bonus, because they weren't supposed to get it in their base pay, and they've got it in their base pay too, and that carries forward. So that is something, you know, that I'm sure you get audited, that should be checked. No bonuses should be going in to add to anybody's base.
So I don't think that was unintentional though. It wasn't a mistake. It was,
So they got a bonus and they got a base pay raise?
No, that's the same thing. It was a 2% increase, it's right here, the numbers that Rick said. So this was their, and I can't remember what year you said, but this was
Hang
the
on,
salary.
I'll give it to you.
And this is the salary, and this is exactly 2% increase.
So,
14, 15,
yeah, so
or no,
if you
Yeah,
go to,
15, 17?
yeah, it was 2000, well, no, it happened in 18, and 17. It happened in 17. So one person went from 104,910 to 107,100. The person got a performance bonus of $2,100 even. That equates to the exact increase in the pay.
That was the increase in the pay, it was 2% exactly.
Yeah, but what she's saying, and if you hear what she's saying to you, that $2,100 should not go into the base salary. It should just be a $2,100 performance bonus. Give them the money, but don't put it into their base salary because that compounds.
Okay. Council Flynn.
So, and just one other comment, and this was something I'm carrying forward from what Councilor Von Villa said about the class sizes in the school. You know, when you've got, you know, to have 14 students in a class, that's a common class. I would like to have that carefully looked at and make sure that we are putting as many students as possible in a class that's reasonable. 14, you know, without any other special situations is a very small number, and we really can't afford that.
So we'll look at that. We look at that every year as we go through scheduling, but we will make a concerted effort
Well,
this year
I don't know if
to
it's a schedule issue.
It-
if you
it-
need
it
to
is.
change I mean, maybe you need to look at changing, you know, it's the 3-day thing and.
Well, I would consider that, yeah, I would consider that a scheduling issue, but ultimately at the high school, the students over time start to experience more flexibility in their schedules and have more choices of the courses they want to take while also having some required classes. So we need to be sure that we fit in those requirements when it fits into their schedule. So
And I
that, it
understand
does
that.
create some situations where there are not a full 25 students in a class, absolutely.
And the other thing that can happen is with the military families that move in November and March, you might have 25 children in a classroom, students in a classroom, and 6 of them might leave when the military
Then
moves
you're
out.
down.
I mean, that's very common for that to happen. So depending on when the data's pulled, you know, you also might have a class of 20 and 6 come in because, and then you're over capacity at 26. It just depends. I mean, it's very, we don't know what grade they're coming in when families move, and we have 3, like I said, I've said before, we have a July military group, November, and a March. And so that transient population makes a difference in enrollment classes throughout the year.
And I understand that's a variable that you mentioned, that you're right, this community, it's unique, and we do have to deal with that. But if you make it a priority to use the resources wisely, having that teacher and as many students as you can get in the schedule in that classroom at that time, that's one way, one focus that I think is I don't want to say easy, because nothing's easy.
We also look at student need. If there happens to be a number of students, particularly in that class, that have individualized educational plans or 504s for accommodations or are just struggling. So that we take that into consideration too when we schedule.
Well, again, I think everyone's doing their best and nobody's happy with the results, and we have a budget to balance and to make work, and that needs to be sustainable over time. So, you know, let's all work together and get it done and keep our taxpayers, you know, able to support
So
the
just
education.
to build on your comments, and thank you for that. You know, again, I think the bonuses have become the discussion of this whole budget process, and, you know, rightfully so, you need to ask those hard questions. But I think if we had an opportunity to sit down in a small group and go over those, nitpick at everything, I think you would be surprised with the answers.
Okay.
I really do.
All right. Council
So,
Santos.
and I think it's worth it. You know, as a community, we need to come together. Our community deserves this.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
would hate to be defined as Middletown and this angst or perceived angst between the town council and the school committee. Our community deserves more than that. There are
They do.
great things happening here. And we don't take time to celebrate those great things. You know, you look at all the departments and what they have accomplished. Okay, our test scores are low, we know that, we're not happy with that, but so are everyone's across the state. Not an excuse. If you know me as an educator, I don't make excuses. We're gonna work harder, we're gonna work smarter to get those scores up. But we've had 3 state tests, implementation dip, the bar has been raised, we know what we need to do, and we hope those scores will climb. We're confident that they will.
Okay.
We really are, but, you know, I just feel compelled, you know, I've been at this is probably my 21st or 22nd budget, and I feel compelled to say, let's, number one, not be defined as a community that we're arguing with each other. You know, I look at that mission. As we work toward our goals, and we need to work toward these goals together, we really do. Now more than ever, we need to work together and not have that personalization in the budget. Let's look at the data. We're more than happy to sit with you to go over those bonuses. This shouldn't be the conversation. The conversation should be about improving those test scores. What resources are we going to give our students to improve those scores? What resources are we going to give our teachers to improve those scores? That should be the heartbeat of our conversation, not bonuses.
Okay.
And I implore you, please meet, as I said, I don't need to be a part of it, the data's there. So we can explain those things to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council Santos.
Thank you, Mr. President. I worked in this building from 1953 to 1990 in different positions. Not once did anyone in this building receive a bonus or a one-time stipend. I thought a one-time meant one time, but I guess it means one time, two times, three times, four times. But that isn't what I want to discuss. I want to change the atmosphere right now and go to the foreign students. In 2018, you had a total of 83 foreign students, of which 18 were Portuguese, not Spanish. Were they Brazilian? Do you know? If you don't know the answer, you can get back
I
to me.
can't answer that right now.
In 2019, you have a total of 113, of which 29 are Portuguese. Where are they coming from, these Portuguese people? Are they from the islands, or are they from the mainland, or are they Brazilian? I'm curious. I'm really curious.
I don't have that answer. We'll provide you as much data as we can.
Right here.
No, I understand. I just can't answer where they're coming from specifically,
Okay,
but
would
we'll
you please
provide you.
get back
Oh,
to
we
me?
know,
I'd like
we
to
know how many we have, but again, may not necessarily reveal that information of where they're coming from. So
Well, you have an address, and they have to fill out forms, don't they?
they're Middleton.
I'm sorry?
And they have to have the immunizations from the country of origin, so we do know what country they come from.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Santos. I just want to make a few comments, okay? One of the comments I want to make, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse, okay? But one of them I want to make is back to the bonuses, okay? And the reason why I go back to the bonuses is this is something that's been happening for years, okay? That was never really divulged to us until last year, and out of a sense of courtesy to the chair, I called her up and I said, this is what I found out, and I'm going to ask you about it tonight. And I think, Kelly, you'll acknowledge that I did do that, right? And I also asked about the manner in which you did it. Because when you look at your minutes from your school department meetings, there was nothing reflected in those minutes that you gave out bonuses, which you should have been. Happens in executive session, you come out of there, it goes into the documents, the minutes of the meeting in open session. But I'm gonna move on past that, because we've talked about that, and I don't wanna beat this at length. But in a sense of fairness, this is what kind of really bothers me. Mr. Brown, if he gets a pay raise of 2%, he's getting the same increase that every other employee in the town got. If it's a town department increase, he gets the same thing, if we decide to give him that. Okay, we look at him differently, but we don't give him a 4 or 5 or 6% or a large bonus or a stipend. And this is what bothers me, because when I look at the teachers, and I know, and I look back at some of the teacher contracts, back in 2014, nobody got a 6.5%. No school teacher in this room got a 6.5% compensation.
But they have longevity and CAGs and.
Just let me finish.
And steps.
Because I'm taking one item. Forget everything else. I'm taking one item. One person, the superintendent, got a $10,800 bonus.
I thought you weren't gonna beat
No,
this.
no, I'm gonna break it, because I wanna show you, this is where I don't understand your thought process. You know, and the teachers, and I look at them as the boots on the ground, the ones that are working with the kids, the ones that are talking to me, Mr. Sylvia, I take X amount of money out of my pocket every year to help my with supplies with the school. There's no fairness there. You know, we're looking at, with these bonus compensations alone, forget all the other things that are added in. Forget the buyback vacation. I like to see the contract that you signed with the superintendent and them where they can sell back their vacation too. I'd like to see that. But.
You have it.
Okay, then maybe, you know, all the stuff we had to digest, like, you know, a foot of stuff, paperwork, but I looked
Did
through.
you ask for data?
I did,
Okay.
because you know why? Because it brought us to the numbers.
Okay.
It brought us to the numbers. But when you look at that and you see years of central administration compensation that raises, that goes from 5% up to tickling 7% of compensation because of that bonus. I don't see the sense of fairness.
They don't get longevity. You keep talking about that $10,000. There's no longevity, there's no,
I understand
steps.
that.
So when you add up the teachers'
The
dollars.
teachers get the longevity, but
and
when
it
you're
adds
talking
up.
about an increase, an annual increase,
And
okay?
steps.
But that,
An annual increase, you know, and again, I think you ought to really take a hard look at, especially according to Gavin, how you document and recognize your bonus process, or the stipend and bonus. I think you ought to take a hard look at that, because I don't know if there could be an issue down the road with even how it's been taxed. But, moving on, and again, because there's some other departments that we have an interest in tonight, but I just don't see it as being fair. I just see it as being, and Paul brought it up, greed. I mean, it just seems like, you know, I mean, and I'm gonna put her on the spot right now, the superintendent. The meeting that we had on the Saturday, that we sat here, the superintendent said at one time, you know, Middletown can afford to raise the taxes. Well, that might be okay with.
The state said that.
Okay, the
I'm
state
sorry.
said,
Yes,
okay.
the state said.
All right, I'll take that back. The
Based
state
on the
said,
funding formula,
the state said, we can
Middletown
afford to
has-
raise the taxes.
No,
okay?
that's not what they said. Let's clarify this, because
Well,
that's
Mike,
not.
sure, I don't know if I should use you to clarify it, but go ahead.
Talk
Let
about
the
good
administrators right there,
You know,
let her
Bob, you
talk.
have to stop
So I,
insulting.
No, let her talk, let her, she's right there.
again, you know, we're getting
She
in
said it,
in
let her
this
clarify.
area that respect and dignity,
Yes.
and I want to go back. So people ask, why is Middletown losing state aid? And the fact is, the state, when they did the calculations, said Middletown has the capacity to tax more. I didn't say we should
Okay,
tax
I
more.
apologize then, I
Okay.
apologize.
But the answer to why we are losing state aid is that fact.
Middletown was overpaid for a long time.
And I agree with that.
That's what
I
happened.
agree with that assessment.
Based on numbers.
No,
That's what
there's a,
happened. No, that's what
numbers is
happened.
one thing.
When they reduced your taxes, your revenue, okay, that happened because they looked at numbers, because we had been in a situation where they just carried over the same amount of money and they did not look at numbers.
Right.
And when they
Numbers are
redid-
part of it, but
when
not
they
the only
redid
thing.
the entire formula, they looked at numbers.
I provided the town council with the data around, the background around the funding formula. And numbers are, you're absolutely right, numbers were one, but it's also capacity to pay, and everything is weighted. It's not just because we're losing enrollment. It's a complicated
I don't
formula.
believe anything the state says about Middletown's capacity or any other. Look, they're in the red.
Well,
So I
that-
have no faith in
All I'm
anything that
doing
comes
is
from the state.
reporting
And I
why,
understand.
so, you know, I'm the
I don't
messenger.
think that being in the millions of dollars in the red, they should be telling us what to do.
But the state formula is the state formula, and we have 2 more years of the state formula.
Yeah.
But before that, we had categorical funds that Middletown always gained with the categorical funds. And we don't have that anymore.
Understood, understood. And, you know, and you talk about, and maybe my, and I'm not saying negative attitude, but maybe my aggressiveness to challenge you on your numbers, okay, goes back to a conversation that we had after the fact, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna refer to it as Computergate, okay? We go back to after that fact, because if you had come to us, we could have implemented and helped you fund a program, and that money could have wiped out your debt to the state. Could have wiped it out, and we could have worked together. But we didn't work together then. After the fact, you look at us to work with you, after the horse is already out of the barn, and it was a financial nightmare after that. But I don't want to keep belittling this. I don't want to keep banging on this. We asked you a couple extra questions. If you can get those answers maybe for Monday, it'd be appreciated. I have a problem with, do we have Wednesday, I'm sorry, Wednesday. I just still have a problem with how your financial reporting has been.
So have our audits been clean?
Every one of them, squeaky. Last year,
So-
squeaky
So
clean,
that
we
would
sat
be,
right there
that
together.
would be
I know,
an,
but
in-
I'm just-
that
I'm
would
just
be an
saying-
indicator that we're not doing anything illegal,
yes, I'm
that
not
we're
saying- I'm
above
not
the board.
alluding to that.
One
You are
suggestion
accusing it.
I would also like to make is learn how the town council uses the bonuses and how the bonuses are divvied up. And maybe the school committee could adopt the same
Yeah.
protocol.
I mean, Mr. Brown is very frugal with that. When he comes to us and asks us,
Right.
There's
And-
bonuses that go on the municipality side.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
we're not
He
denying that.
builds them out like.
Nothing to that extent.
How
Not
many
even
thousand
nowhere, you
dollars
could,
a
you
year?
could add them up for the next
And you
30
don't-
years.
and
and
you-
it wouldn't
But
be that
again-
You know something, you don't see a repetition of it.
How many thousands of dollars a year are designated for bonuses in the municipality?
We don't designate any money for
We don't.
bonuses. We give him a budget. And you know what his budget was? You know what we told him this year? Come in at zero.
Wait a
That's what we
minute.
want.
The money can't come from nowhere. The headline, the item would have to be a line
Then
item
he
in the
makes
budget.
adjustments within those departments to compensate for anything, why he wants to give the budget out. And a lot of times, those budgets are based on the savings that department heads did within their own department, which is a justified bonus. Hey, you saved the town $10,000, if he wants to give him $1,000 or $2,000 and he
Or
documents that
six
and shows
thousand,
it to him.
you've never
I'm-
given a $6,000 bonus or a $7,000 bonus?
Never, never.
Actually, in preparation for this meeting, after the last meeting, when you and I got in that exchange, I called Sean and I said, the next day, I said, hey, listen, for the next meeting, I want to be prepared because I can't vote in those sessions on bonuses or even salaries because my sister's a department head. So I cannot participate. But I had heard that there were a few here and there. So I asked for all those numbers, and we'll be glad to share them with you because I wanted to be prepared.
We'll
As a
we'll send you a
taxpayer,
copy. We'll
as a
sen-
taxpayer, I'd
And
like
as
to
a
see it.
taxpayer, we look at this not only as counselors, but as taxpayers. And for people that know where the future is for Middletown. And it's not a promising future right now. It's
I'm a
not.
taxpayer twice over as well, and have elderly parents and elderly family, so I understand that. And that is another reason why it is insulting when we as Middletown residents too are doing due diligence. We certainly are not trying to
Okay.
spend people's money
Okay, so we
inappropriately.
got, and we never said you're trying to spend the money. We're just challenging you how you're spending the money. And that's another thing.
I don't mind being challenged,
know-
but accusing
well,
of
we
doing
know
wrong
that. That's obvious.
is not fair.
Okay, that's obvious.
What?
But, no, you don't like being
I
challenged.
said I don't mind. I didn't say.
Oh, I
please
thought you
don't
said you
twist-
don't like.
I
but-
do not mind being challenged.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
appreciate the
All right,
disrespect.
so you have a couple things that we asked you, if you could get
Absolutely.
back to us on next Wednesday,
Mm-hmm.
we'd appreciate. And we're gonna kinda try to move ahead, unless you have anything you wanna add in closing, because we have some other departments we wanna talk to. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. What's that? Is there anybody in the public that would like to make any comments? Because this is an open public meeting. And just remember, anybody can come up, and it's, you get 5 minutes to say anything you want to say, but we have some other department heads we're gonna talk to after. Is there anybody that wants, come on up, man, name and address, please. Just try to grab that little mic and make sure you speak into it clearly.
My name is Artie McLeod Pfeiffer. I live on Third Beach Road, Middletown, and I attended the Aquidneck Island Planning Council meeting that they had about a month or so ago, and I know I saw some of you there. And just, when the state states that we can afford to have, higher taxes, whatever, the average income for the households in Middletown is only $68,000. And when you look at the cost, and they had the cost of the average house in Middletown, the cost of having a two-bedroom apartment is about like $13,000. Middletown really does not have the money that the state thinks we have to just, have frivolous tax increases. I think we all need to tighten our belt. Arlene knows seniors, I know seniors in the community. When I make extra food or whatever, I bring it over to, my neighbor, because I know they're on a very tight budget. And I just think there's a big misconception with the state that Middletown is a well-to-do, some are well-to-do, but not the average person that resides here. So that's the only thing I want to
Thank you,
state.
we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Very much.
Is there anybody else who'd like to make any comments now from the public? Come on up. Name and address, sir. And please talk into the small mic. Thank you.
Hi, Excuse me. I'm Paul Mankowski. I live on Pequot Lane. And thank you. Thank you. Our government, our community, Middletown deserves honesty, integrity, and ethical government. I applaud your efforts to get to the bottom of the school department mess. Wonderful job. I know there are many good people in Middletown trying to do a good job educating our children. But as I just observed for the last 2 hours, they're being held back by poor leadership. The solution to Middletown's problems is not more money. That's just wasteful. It's a change in leadership or change in process. And there are a couple of ideas that if I have time, I'll relay later. But let me give you some reasons why it appears that the ethics, the integrity, the honesty, the intent is flawed. The budget strategy, I've been involved in this for the last 6 or 7 years. I see Middletown asking for 4% because they can ask for 4%, and they know that you can't give them less than what you gave them last year or the year before. So that 4% is compounded every time. Okay, it never reflects, they don't do their budgeting. I've been through their minutes, I've been through their budgets. They don't do their budgeting based on zero-based budgeting. They start from last year's number. The budgeting presentations that they give are very confusing. The last 2 hours of discussion was somewhat entertaining, but it was like listening to or watching a New York City 3-card Monte game. Where's the money? Where's the shell? Who has it? What's the definition? What language are we using? The language we use results in confusion by me, by the public, and as I could see, by you. The organization appears to be stale. We just heard that this is the 21st budget that's been submitted by the committee or the superintendent. The average tenure for a superintendent in public schools in America is 3 to 5 years or 5 to 7 years, depending on the source of the data you use. Middletown budget keeps going up, and the council keeps adding money, which is compounded every year. The cost per student is up in the last 5 years, 10 years. Middletown school population is down, and as you indicated before, the test scores are down. There's a question about the perception of Middletown School Department ethics. And let me give you a half a dozen examples. We had the computer scandal of 6 or 5 years ago. There was a piñata incident about the same period. There are chronic teacher absences reported by the State Department of Education at the Gaudet School. There's a question about special ed and the superintendent. They're related. She gives them money. They negotiate funding. That's whether or not there's anything wrong, I don't know. It's the perception. There's a fear of reprisal in this community. People know I'm very vocal about schools, about budgets, about that stuff, and they come up to me and they said, you know, we're afraid to say anything because we have children in the school and we're afraid of reprisal either from the department or from, you know, other kids. There's the issue of a couple of years ago during the contract negotiation of the teachers union causing students to suffer by working to rule and then blaming the council for not negotiating, not approving the contract. And to top it off, this evening I hear the new scandal in town is the bonus and payment scandal over the past 6 years. Thank you for exposing that. Thank you for discussing that. Thank you for bringing it to the forefront. The other thing that Middletown does, the school department does, is kick the can. For the last 6 years, I've been hearing about PARC, I've been hearing about Common Core, I've been hearing about RICAS, I've been hearing about NECAP, I've been hearing about the federal exam that's given, and every time we hear about the poor results, the answer is, we're gonna fix it, we're gonna fix it, we're gonna fix it. The results or the data in the Rhode Island Department of Education doesn't indicate they fixed it. So what do I propose? I propose force a change in the administration, give people vouchers. Let's look at alternatives to public schools and maybe charter schools.
Paul, I have to ask you, you gotta wrap it up, okay?
I didn't see the red. Okay, I'll finish up.
I'll give
More
you an
money is
extra
wasteful.
15 seconds.
More money is wasteful. Don't do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? Yes, come on up, Cal.
Kelly Simeone, 18 Pocahontas Drive. I just wanted to clarify an incorrect statement that was made about budgets going up year after year. From fiscal year 2017 to 18, the school department's operating budget actually went down. If you remember, we lost funding from the state, so we saw a reduction there, and the funding from the town was flat, so that resulted in a net reduction. And from 2018 to 2019, so last year to this year, our operating budget remained flat. The town generously made up the difference from what we lost in state aid, but then that was a result net zero budget. So it's not increasing year after year, and so it's not a compounded 4% increase. The 4% that we're asking for this year is less than the 4% we asked for 2 years ago. So I wanted to just make that clear. Thank you.
Cal. Thank you. Okay, anyone else in the audience? Okay. Any councilors have any questions I'd like to ask any other department heads, or Mr. Brown? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the public hearing is gonna remain open.
Yep.
And the second public hearing will be held a week from today, May 29th, 6 p.m. Mr. Vice President?
Three favorite words, right? Motion to adjourn.
Second. And motion second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you very much, everyone.